Hey guys, it is Picture 2001, and I have a book collection today. This is going to be my Harry Potter book collection. So, what we're going to start with is the original British edition of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And all the British ones I have, they're all Canadian. Or at least most of them are Canadian copies. All the ones that I have mainly, they're all Canadian copies. I have a couple of miscellaneous that are British, but yeah. But they were all purchased in Canada. So. Here is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Yep. This is a winner of the 1997 Smarties Gold Award. Now, this book came out in the UK in June of 1997. And this is the copy with the young wizard there. I forget his name, but yeah. These are very nice books, though. Very nice on the shelf. Very beautiful. But yeah, the later editions had Dumbledore on the back. And this printing, it's a Canadian copy. It talks about, reviews from the Smarties, young judges, people from Colway Junior School. Those are all British things. So you can see all the jackets on these. I don't need to take the jackets off because all of them underneath are the same. The boards are the same as the dust jackets. So that's why a lot of people probably threw out those dust jackets. But I think it's good to have the dust jacket. This is not the copy I grew up with by any means, but still, it's a nice addition to have. This is an 8th printing from. It says published in Canada in 2000. I think that's incorrect. It was actually published in 1998 in Canada. So they got that from a paperback copy. I think they used that because the paperback was published in 2000. Now, one of the pages in this, I forget which one. Let me just. Oh yeah, it's near the back here. Is ripped, unfortunately. Page 217. Yeah, that's just how it came, though. So, unfortunately. But I have tons of copies of the book, so I can just pick up any of them. But of course, this is a nice one because it's a hardcover. Now, I'm not going to show the American edition yet. Usually I'm going to do the American editions separately because I know in the second book came out in the UK before the first book came out in America. This is the Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Inventive and action-packed, as stated by the bookseller. There's the scene with the flying car. The spine. The Canadian publisher of these books is called Raincoast. Later on, though, they became a book distribution company instead of a publishing company. And I know that now Bloomsbury has a Canadian arm, and they published them. For a while, they used to co-publish them with Raincoast, but now Bloomsbury publishes them in Canada all the time. The first 2 books were $19.95 each back in the time, like $19.95 in Canadian money. There's Hogwarts there. And this one, just read the stuff on the side of the book there. It's a fan letter from some kid. Pages feel a little thinner in this one. This one is a 9th printing. Then back here talks about the other really different like acknowledgments, and then some fan letters, and then on the back it says read the first book. Yeah, that was published in UK in June 1998. The Canadian editions are published around the same time as the American ones, but they use the British version in Canada. So I'm from Canada, so these are the covers I grew up with. But then in September 1998, they finally started releasing the books. And they released the first book right here. But they retitled it Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Scholastic is who publishes the American ones. They used to do it under Arthur A. Levine books, but Arthur A. Levine left Scholastic, and now modern copies nowadays in the stores in the U.S. are just published under Scholastic. I love these covers, though. I actually bought this one on my trip to Maine in 2019. I bought it new. It's a very late pressing, but it's still, the dust jacket's the same, and it still feels just like a regular copy, so I don't really care, to be honest. Like the dust jacket, they've just been reprinting the same dust jacket ever since like 2003 because it goes up to Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix there. And see the difference in the the book inside, they talk about they have like more illustrations and stuff. This is a 100th printing, so that's pretty late printing. They actually have a table of contents actually, but usually each of these ones have like a chapter illustration. Yeah, for those in the UK and like Canada and other countries who haven't seen these versions, this is how they sort of look inside here. Whereas I'm just going to put that back on the shelf for a second. Whereas the British, Canadian, Australian, whatever edition look a little different. So if you're one of my American viewers, here's what the Canadian, British, Australian one looks like inside. There's a lot more on a page. I like the margins and the layout of the American ones a little better. They're easier on my eyes, to be honest. And it's sort of claustrophobic, all that text there. Still, I can read it, obviously, but yeah. But so that's the difference between those. I know most people would probably prefer the British ones if they are more of a sort of perfectionist. A lot of people don't care, though. But there is a difference between the two editions, actually. There's a lot of text that differs because of they localize it. Like one of them, Dumbledore says, "Oh, sherbet lemon. It's a Muggle suit I'm rather fond of." But then another one he says lemon drops. I forget which version was which, but I know they changed a lot of text. They Americanized the text a little bit just to make it easier for American readers, especially American young, because they're meant for young readers. So, though I know most Harry Potter fans are adults probably, because Harry Potter always had a following of, as they said, Contents Media said in their Order of the Phoenix video review, Harry Potter has fans of every age, some too young to read and some too young for this movie. And also, some too old to read and some too old for this movie. I don't think you're ever too old for Harry Potter. Now, here's the American version of Chamber of Secrets. The American Sorcerer's Stone, I almost call it American Philosopher's Stone. The Sorcerer's Stone, the American version, came out in September 1998. And this one, I can't remember exactly when it came out, but it was around, I think it was, early 1999. I don't quote me on that, but it was definitely early to mid 1999 when this one came out. Now, unfortunately, this is a book club edition. I didn't realize that when I bought it because there's no embossing on the thing. I would like to, at some point, find a copy that's actually a real copy with the embossed letters and everything. So I know the difference you can tell between inside when you look at the boards. Usually they're like the diamond shape, and that there's none of those on the book club editions. And there's also no price tag on here either because it was all made to be given out through book clubs. And now I would assume this is not worth anything because it's a book club edition, but this actually is a first printing. But again, it's probably let me know if I have a rare book on my hands that's worth a lot of money but I am doubting it. I would assume it's probably not really worth that much money. So, but yeah, I always love those chapter illustrations. So Mary Grandpraise, who did the illustrations for these. And this is the scene in there in the chamber. But definitely, this is a fantastic sequel. Definitely a fantastic novel. And then the UK edition of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban came out in, I think it was June of 1999, I think. Sometime around 1999. Yeah, summer 1999. And I know that but I do know that the Canadian version came out around the same time as the American one, much like the other two, so I think it was late 1999 sometime. October, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. A little bit thicker, but not much thicker. The first three are 300, 400 page books. The rest are 600, 700, 800 page books, so. This one was also $19.95, as you could see, for the price tag. Though I paid $12 because I got it at a used bookstore. A couple of these I got at the same bookstore. They would always write the prices in there in pencil. I should have mentioned for my... did I mention for the Chamber of Secrets what printing it was? I can't remember. Let me just do that if I haven't. Actually, I think I did. But if not, I'll just show it anyway, just in case. It's a 9th printing. But again, I think I might have shown that already. But if I didn't, then whatever. Here's Prisoner of Azkaban. This is my favorite of the Harry Potter books, by the way, and favorite of the movies. This one's also a 9th printing. In the back of this one, more fan letters. And then here's the American version, again released in like October of 1999, I think, or something like that. I forget exactly when, but it was late 1990, like fall 1999, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but anyways, I love this cover. I have this one, the Order of the Phoenix American covers, as Christmas tree ornaments. Actually, they're really cool. Every year they would do them. I think they did it was because the American 20th anniversary was in 1990. It was in 2018, so they did a Sorcerer's Stone in 2018. And then I think they did Chamber of Secrets in 2019, Prisoner of Azkaban in 2020, that's the year I got it. And then Goblet of Fire in 2021, Order of the Phoenix in 2022. And then I would assume they probably did Half-Blood Prince in 2023 and Deathly Hallows in 2024. So this one in American money was $19.95. That's different than $19.95 Canada. So it's more expensive in terms of the actual monetary value. 13th printing. That's one of my favorite scenes in the whole franchise. Aunt Marge's big mistake. That's what she gets for insulting Harry's parents. And the movie version of that scene though is just even funnier. Like in the book, it's more like it's not really played for laughs. Like it's sort of just like, oh, he has anger and he's running away. It just happens sort of like very quick. Whereas in the movie, it's a prolonged, hilarious sequence. So yeah, but definitely. It's a difference between, like, people don't realize, I think a lot of times when they complain about differences between the book and the movies, there is a lot of legitimate differences that are maybe a bit disappointing. But people also got to remember that a book and a movie are two very different mediums. And, like, writing a book is different from writing a script or showing something in a film. Like, and they always say in film, show, don't tell. When you're writing a book, it's all nothing but telling. So, yeah, because it's like a person's telling the story, so. And then, starting with the fourth book, the book was released like worldwide at the same time, pretty much, because it was by this point, the series was such a phenomenon, even without the first movie being out. It was just, people loved, like, this, there were 4 books out by the time the first movie came out, first and second movies came out. And then I know that once the third movie came out, there were 5 books, and once the fourth movie came out, there were 6 books, and then the 5th movie, the 7th book was about to come out, and then the last 3 movies, all the books were already out, so, of course, yeah. So they sort of overlap, but yeah. But here's Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, the British edition, again, Canadian copy. But this book was released in July, I think it was in July of 2000. Again, I can't remember exact dates, but I know it was July 2000. I always thought this was an interesting quote in the back here. Like Game Boys, Teletubbies, and films by George Lucas, Harry Potter has permeated the national child consciousness, as stated by The Independent on Sunday. I find Game Boys, Teletubbies, and films by George Lucas and Harry Potter are all very different, so... The closest thing it can come to, like maybe Game Boys and films by George Lucas, definitely, actually. Yeah, actually, those fit well. But comparing Harry Potter to Teletubbies, like... Compare Lord of the Rings to Teletubbies, because they're little people that live in holes, with like little holes in the ground, with in like a grassy land, and then there's a big eye, like a big face up in the sky, like I don't know what Lord of the Rings is an eye, but still, it's a big thing shining up in the sky that's sentient, so... Yeah, you can compare that to Teletubbies, and I don't think you can compare Harry Potter to Teletubbies. And this one, the suggested retail price was $35. And there's the fan letter. Forget where I picked this one up. This one's an 8th printing, despite, of course, there's still 4 books listed there, but there's an 8th printing. Yeah, by this point though, first printings aren't worth. I think for the 4th book and later, first printings aren't worth anything because millions of these were printed. I think Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows holds the record of the most first printing books ever printed. Like the most has ever been in a first print run of a book. I think that counts like the British edition and the American edition and everything like that. So I think it was like 4.5 million first printings of Deathly Hallows were shipped. From what I heard. I don't know, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah. Now the back of this one, they also started including a thing, you could see a time capsule sort of what was available at the time. Sometimes they're a bit incorrect, like they're a bit off in terms of things, but like from what I've gathered, but mostly they're correct. Like this is what was available at the time this book came out. You see that weird Harry Potter cover there? I'll be talking about those in a little bit. my miscellaneous books in the collections. I'm nowhere near complete, like a lot of my incomplete sets, because I'm nowhere near complete in that. And then here's the American edition. It's a bit sun-faded, unfortunately. Sequel to the #1 New York Times bestseller, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Yeah, these are the first time the books were getting really long. Show you some of the chapter headings in here. There's the snake with the chair. The old guy, the Muggle guy, goes in. They really did a good job casting Daniel Radcliffe. I feel like maybe the chapter illustration was written with. No, I don't think he was already. I think he wasn't cast until I don't know exactly when he was cast, but I think it was August 2000. He was officially cast in the role of Harry Potter. At the same time that Hayden Christensen was cast as Anakin Skywalker and Tobey Maguire was cast as Spider-Man, Daniel Radcliffe was cast as Harry Potter. Those cast announcements all came at the same time. So yeah, you can see basically the chapter headings. I like showing those. This one, the price tag, unfortunately, was chopped off there, unfortunately. But yeah, that's the 4th book. And then here's Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, book number 3. This was released in June of 2003. So after the second movie was out. But here's the book. What's interesting, this one, the British version, the original British edition, Canadian, whatever, is yellow. It has a very yellow cover. But this one has an extremely blue cover. So extremely light versus extremely dark. I know the 2014 UK edition has a cover that's very red, sort of more like orangish red, but definitely a very red cover. So it's cool how each sort of the main editions of the books is like for inside, of course, like because the formatting's different. They have a different primary color for each one. So like this one's yellow, this one's blue, and then that one's red. I almost bought just that one as a miscellaneous book just to have the 3, but it was expensive, so I didn't. So I have that version though, which you'll see, like for the text version inside that you'll see in a little bit. But here's Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, the original British edition. See, starting with Goblet of Fire, they were under Raincoast and Bloomsbury, not just Raincoast. And I like the illustrations of this one. I think Jason Crockford is the name of the guy or something like that. I think it's Crockford or something like that. Jason Croc something. I don't know. This one was $43. And starting with this one, they also would print the books on recycled ancient forest-friendly paper. The forest at Hogwarts is home to magical creatures like unicorns and centaurs. Because the Canadian editions are printed on ancient forest-friendly paper, the Harry Potter books are helping to save magnificent forests in the Muggle world. Forests that are the home of magical animals such as orangutans, wolves, and bears. It's a good idea to respect ancient trees, especially if they have a temper like the Whomping Willow. And that's so true. You do not want to mess with the Whomping Willow. And this is a first printing, Canadian edition. This one, though, what's interesting about it is that you'll see in the when I show eventually, there was later a revised edition. There must have been a typo; they had to fix something. But this is the original version of the book. Dudley Demented. For some reason, the text is very thin. Probably to get more on the page, I guess. This is easily the longest Harry Potter book. Like even J.K. Rowling admits she wished she had made this one a little shorter. So. And now here's the American one. This one is extra thin, a little extra thin paper because it's extra long. This one's 870 pages, a record length for a Harry Potter book. Like, it's amazing how Harry Potter had such a grip on kids. We were all able to read these books in our free time with that many pages. Nowadays, though, I always prefer to listen to the books. Like, it's just easier because when you're reading a book, one, I find it makes me tired for some reason, and two, you don't have to just sit down and do that one thing. If you're listening to the books, you can do your chores as you're listening to it. Like, you can have it on as background noise when you're doing your tasks. Like if you're writing something, like you're doing some making, like for me, making lists or like doing some work or something. Like, it's good. They're good to have on, like, if you're in your workplace, like, with no one can hear. As long as everyone's okay with you playing the audio. Okay, well, this is the first printing as well. It's Neil, Jessica, and David who make my world magical. You can see the pages are extremely, yeah, because the book actually looks thinner than Goblet of Fire because the paper's thinner inside, but it's actually a bigger amount of pages. So I like this. I love this cover though. I think of the American covers, this one's easily my favorite. I just love the blue on it. It's very beautiful. I always use that pun whenever I talk about a celebrity that I like or whatever. Mostly female celebrities that I like. If they're wearing blue, I'll say, "Oh, it's very beautiful." Like a sort of, especially Lexi DiBenedetto. Blue is her color. But yeah, anyways, yeah. If you know who she is, on my other channel, I made a birthday trip before. If you don't know who she is, I explained a little bit about that. But anyways, but again, this book is a very beautiful book. But it's really cool because it's sort of the dark, because they go in I think that's the part where they go into the ministry. They bring in the ministry. Like in the movie, that part was more like very greenish, I thought, more than any in the film. But David Yates always used a lot of green in the Harry Potter movies. I always thought, like, sort of his were always sort of green tinted. Now this next one, actually, this is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Here, this is the British one, and then here's the American right beside it. This was released in July of 2005. I think it was July 16th was the exact day, I'm pretty sure. But yeah. Now, this one and the next one for these British editions, or Canadian, whatever, these are the copies that we've had since I was a little kid. Because the other ones we all had softcover. Because basically my mom got into Harry Potter because my late cousin, who passed away he passed away quite young as a child. He passed away as a child, unfortunately. He was a huge Harry Potter fan. And I know that he unfortunately, he was only like 36 pages into Goblet of Fire before he passed away. But, like, when it came out at the time. But my aunt kept buying the books, and she keeps buying new merchandise and new things. Got all the movies, because it's the franchise she most closely associated with her son. So, that's, yeah, my aunt kept buying stuff, yeah. So that's, but my mom, she read the books. I remember she read the first 3 with my cousin. Because he read those, like, in that amount of time between the time, like, the short time, because he bought the books all 3 at the same time, according to, like, Costco, I think. They were all there. They weren't in a box set, they were just 3 individual books. But he read those in that amount of time. I think it was about a year time. He read those 3 books over and over and over again. But he used to read them. He used to read the third one first, because that was the one he discovered it with, actually, at school, which was his favorite. Then he read number 1, then he read number 2. And my mom would always tease him about that. Like, no, you gotta read them in order. No, I want to read it this way. And there was a YouTube poop that I watched. It was called The Dursleys. They actually, in that video, they show the contents in the third movie, then the contents in the first movie, and then the second movie. And I was like, that's a sign from him. Like, a lot of people, when they have, because I never met him, unfortunately. I was born exactly 9 months after he passed, so. But it's, my mom, though, she got a 4-pack of the books, though, because the Chamber of Secrets was an earlier printing than what should have been in the box. The books didn't fit in the box, so she threw away the box and she just had them in softcover. And then she got the 5th one in a softcover on sale because it was way cheaper. But by this point, she really wanted to read the books as soon as they came out, so she got the number 6 and 7 individually. I remember my aunt in Newfoundland, she also did the same thing. She got 6 and 7 when they were, like, everyone and their dog was getting 6 and 7 when they came out. And yeah, but I remember number 1 through 4, she had, like, paperbacks. She used to have, like, a Scholastic paperback printing of the first one, but then it was in my cousin's room, and then they remodeled that. She lost it. I've been looking for a copy to send to her, actually, at, like, a thrift store or something, of the first book of the original paperback printing, but I haven't been able to find it. But yeah, but her copy of number 5 actually is a softcover, but it's actually a British edition. I think she must have went to Britain on one of her business trips or something, and she bought it there. But because they look exactly, the covers are the same, it's still matched with her. It just didn't say Bloomsbury, but it was the softcover there is actually the right thickness. But yeah, but back to what I was saying about Half-Blood Prince. This is the paperback. This is the hardback, and we've had this since it came out. Now, my mom was furious at the time because she went with her friend, who was also a Harry Potter fan at the time, to buy the book. My mom had pre-ordered it. She had to wait in line to get her copy for like hours. And then keep in mind, this was a midnight release. So this is midnight. She was out late and she had to wait for hours to get her copy. She was furious about that. Whereas her friend was able to just just go and buy the book. So it's sort of that pre-order thing is sort of a false sense of security, really. Like you think you have your copy ready to go, but really it would just be quicker. Because there were like, well, I actually went to the Deathly Hallows release with my mom. It was a special occasion. I was able to, I don't know if I went to the party with her, but I picked her up from it. I went inside the bookstore, our local bookstore, which is like about a 5-minute drive from our house. It's still there, actually. I go there on the bus, actually. It's on some of my trips. When I went in, there was just a whole big bin of like hundreds, if not like a couple, like maybe up to 1,000 copies of Deathly Hallows. Just a huge bin. Like, it was that book was a huge deal, so. Like I said, yeah, but this one inside, this one was $41. You gotta keep in mind, these are prices from back when they came out, so these would be way more expensive if they came out today. Again, obviously a first printing, because this was a midnight release purchase. I know some of the margins and formatting are a bit different than some of the later ones. Because what's interesting is that the book 6 and 7 in the original UK edition, the Canadian one, have the same amount of pages, 607. Whereas in all the other editions, like the new UK ones and the American ones and whatever, they always differ. And so it's obviously that there's some margins and formatting differences in the books and maybe some text changes. Because again, they do have some text changes, but it's only single words and like a couple small phrases that get changed. The overall template of the book is exactly the same, so. But here's the American edition. I love that green cover. The green color, because I love color green. And I'll mention my love in the color green once we get to another subset of another little set of the books I have. There's the spine. The back, there's the dark mark. The dark mark's not supposed. I never think of the dark mark as being sort of sparkly though. I always think of it more being as like looking like fire, like the movies. This one's $29.99. This one cost at the time. This one is a second printing. Now, one thing I will mention about this, I forget what page it's on, but there was an error where Hermione talked about like 11 outstanding owls being their exams. It was supposed to be 10 outstanding owls. Now, both this hardcover and the one I have, the first one there, both have that error. People think it's a hugely expensive error. It is not, because again, millions of first printings were done for this. Same with that 759 page count for Deathly Hallows. Like, people who think that's an error, are they stupid? Because they can't look at the previous pages and see that there's 758, 757, 756, 750, like that's actually the number of pages. And the one that's not 759, if it's like an American version and it's not 759 pages, then that's the error. I don't understand people. It's the same people that sell their Disney Black Diamond VHSs, like, that are beat up and battered. None of the paperwork's in there. The tape has seen better days for like thousands of dollars because like they just saw an article on Facebook that said your Disney VHS tapes could be worth this much. They could be, but like most of those tapes, I can go to any thrift store and find them for like $2 a piece or like not like 50 cents. Only place that sells $2 tapes is Value Village because they try to suck the money out of you. Not even a charity. They're not even a charity. I buy from Value Village, but I never donate my stuff there. That's just like taking money and lighting it on fire. Whereas at least when you donate your stuff to the Salvation Army, even though you don't get money for it, at least you know that it's going to a good cause. So, whereas Value Village is just nothing. It's a for-profit thing. Disguised as a charity, but anyways, and this one actually is a second print. Yeah, this is a second printing. So. In fact, I actually got these two on the same day. My mom went to the church book sale. I live right across the street from a church actually, and they usually have a book sale every year. And she found this one in Order of the Phoenix in hardcover. Those so very nice. And lastly, in July 2007, we have the big epic conclusion: Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I remember when this came out; it was a huge deal. Let's start with the British one here again, or Canadian, whatever, the British edition, Canadian copy, whatever. And this one is again the one that we've had ever since I was a young child. Like when the first 4 books came out, I wasn't even born yet. I was about to turn when the third book came out. I was about to turn 2. The 6th book, I was 4, and this one I was 6 when it came out. So for the movies, I was an infant, like I was 0, like newborn when the first, I was 0 years old when the first one. I think I was like 4 or 5 months old, and then the second one I was 1. The third movie I was 2, about to turn 3. The fourth movie I was 4. The fifth movie I had just turned 6. And I remember I went to see that with my mom as a kid. She had already seen the movie, and she thought because she never, at the time, even though she didn't know I had already watched the movie, she didn't, because I was a Harry Potter fan ever since I was like 4 years old. I watched the whole first movie at age 4. Yes, even the scene where at the end where he kills his teacher. I don't know why I wasn't scared of that as a child, but maybe I didn't understand whatever. But anyways, I always loved Harry Potter ever since I was a small child. In fact, and I know it was like 3 or 4 when I first got into it, because for my 5th birthday, I had a Harry Potter cake. It was a really cool cake, like, the cakes you get at the grocery store. It had like a little Harry Potter. It was like a toy you could wind up, and it was like a Quidditch thing. I don't know whatever happened to that, but it was always really cool. And I even had a Harry Potter doll as a kid. I still have it, but I misplaced everything that came with it. Like, there was like a trunk that came with a Dementor, a little flame, a little ball. It was always a cool toy, but like I just have the doll now. I have it somewhere in here. I think I have it with my Mr. Incredible doll and my Tron Legacy. Yeah. And trust me, even though they're action figures, because they're things, but trust me, they're like, to me, because when I think of an action figure, I think of one that's more like sort of tiny, like little things, but really, like not tiny, but like smaller, like about that size. Whereas when it's a full size thing, even if it's hard, like if it's not like soft, it's still a doll. Like Buzz Lightyear, he may be called an action figure by many because of his how hard he is and how like technical he is. No, he's still a doll. But anyways, that's how I see it. Anyways, I think of action figures as the smaller ones, dolls as the full size ones. Like you can get Toy Story action figures, like the smaller Toy Story toys, and then you get the Toy Story dolls. So, but then if it's not like if it's like something like Rex or Slinky Dog, those are not even dolls; they're just toys. But anyways. And if they're for collectors, they're like just figures. That's how I see it. Anyways, that's how I see it. Back to Harry Potter, though. Here's this is the first printing. I love that dedication thing. It kind of looks a bit like a scar, like a lightning scar. I don't know if that's... then there's some like quotes in the beginning. That's interesting. For artistic effect. This one was $45 when it came out, because it was quite a big deal. They knew they could make a profit off it. And these are all Canadian prices by Raincoast, I'm pretty sure, so... Now, the American edition, I used to have another edition of this from America, another cover of this from America, like copy of this from America, but the dust jacket was completely beat up. The book underneath was in better condition, and I did check, and they're the exact same first printing, whatever, so there wasn't any difference. It wasn't like I was messing up a printing or whatever. And like, again, there's no value in it anyway, because millions of these were printed, but I remember I posted on the Harry Potter subreddit. Thank you to all those people who downvoted me there, by the way, just for asking a simple question, like, these people, you never get, like, you always make fun of people when they correct, like, you get upset when we correct you, when you're corrected, but you also get upset when there's a newbie in there who doesn't, like, as if it's like they're sort of gatekeeping the knowledge. Like, you can't win with them. It's just really, because they're saying, like, you do realize that it's a newer pressing with a newer dust jacket with an older book, right? They changed it. How was I supposed to know that? Because, like, here's the thing. When I got this, I was worried it might be faded because the book isn't faded and it's a little bit darker. It's obviously, like, apparently the reason I heard, though, is that it's not actually a later print run dust jacket. There were so many of these they needed to print that they had to split it between 2 factories, and that's why there's differences. I don't know why the Harry Potter, the pink swan, but I thought for a second, like, the back, like, the spine, like, oh, maybe all the red fell off there, and it's an error, it's a bad copy. But no, I've seen other copies that are... actually, I kind of like the silver, actually. But yeah, there's other copies I've seen that look just like that online. Other people have them, so... It's obvious that it's the first printing, but it's by the one... Like, these are the less common of the two. Again, I still don't think it's worth it, because they had to split the print run because there were so many of them between 2 different printing presses, like 2 different printing companies. Not publishing companies, but printing companies. This one was $34.99 in US. Because again, first printing. But again, a lot of people would say like, oh, yeah. Like, again, the book is very... As I remember watching a news story about all the people like were worried at the time, worried that Harry Potter would be killed off, and someone said they flipped the back of the book. Ginny kissed Albus, and then they're like, "Effing plot twist!" Like it's like someone made that distracted boyfriend meme where Ginny was the guy, and then Harry was the girl on the left, and then Dumbledore was the blurry girl, whatever. Like she's looking at Dumbledore, like Ginny always found out she liked Albus a lot, but she kissed Albus the son like you would kiss your child, not. Ginny kissed Albus on the lips, like that, like Albus Dumbledore on the lip. Like, yeah, she didn't realize that. Yeah, Ginny kissed Albus. That's yeah. Still pretty funny though. Anyways, but yeah, this was a big deal when it came out. So that's the original run of them. At the time, very famous. But that's not it. 36 minutes in, and that's not it. These are the Slytherin House editions. Now, I only have up to number 5. I have not been able to get number 6 or 7 because I just waited too long to get them. Can't find them in the store anymore. They're on Amazon, so I might order if they're there. They're directly from Amazon.ca, so they're new. They're not used. But yeah, these are all first printings of these editions. But these are based on the 2014 British editions, the same text outline inside. But they're nice special editions that they started coming out each year for their 20th anniversaries. Because they say 20th anniversary edition for first 3. But then by the 4th one, it did come out in 2020, but it was early in 2020, not the summer. It was winter. So they wanted to fast track them. So they released 4 and 5 in 2020, and then 6 and 7 in 2021. I remember I bought those. I bought 2, 3, and 4 on the same day because I had enough money. I had enough money at the time. Then I bought 1 and 5 on different days. But I gotta get 6 and 7 eventually. So to complete that set. When I get more Harry Potter, like there's a few Harry Potter book items that I've been looking to find, like some of the later illustrated editions. Once I complete those sets, I will definitely be making another one of these. But for now, this is what I have. So I just wanted to make this video as a supplement to my Harry Potter movie collection video. But I'll start with these. Now, the reason I got the Slytherin ones, well, one, my favorite color is green because it looks like that's the main reason is that they're the nicest looking ones because like the Hufflepuff ones are like they're all nice. All the Hufflepuff one is so bright, and the other one, the red, I just don't find fits. The blue is nice too, but like I find the green is the nicest one. I think just because I'm maybe I'm just biased towards the color green because I love it so much. But yeah, also though, officially, every Hogwarts house test I've taken, including there was one actually, all the ones I've done online, and all the one that I've done. I did in person. They had like a felt sorting hat at HalCon, my local comic convention. I got sorted. I'm always in Slytherin, but yet in terms of my values and my story and my journey, I actually feel like I'm a Gryffindor. Like my mom says, she thinks I'm a Hufflepuff, but I feel more like a Gryffindor because I feel like a Neville. Like you would think Neville would be prime Hufflepuff material. But it's because the sorting hat can sort of see things in the students that maybe they don't even realize. Like Neville was, believe it or not, one of the bravest. Because Gryffindor is like bravery is their big. He's like, yeah, Hufflepuff is like sort of sweet ones. Slytherin are sort of like sort of I wouldn't call them like maybe narcissistic a bit, like sort of pride. They're pride, like the sin of pride. And Ravenclaw is smart, like smarts. And Gryffindor is like bravery. That's sort of their main thing. So I feel like because I've had to go through a lot of my life where I've had to be brave, and like I thought I couldn't be like, and this is not bravery like, oh, go down the slide as a child. I'm talking more about situations in life, like everything. Like I'm not gonna mention any of these problems in like because they're kind of personal, but still moments in life that I've had to go through where I've had to be brave, and because of those having those challenges. I feel like Gryffindor is the house that best suits me. My cousin, on the other hand, got sorted into Gryffindor, but she wants to be Slytherin. So we got the opposite houses that we would be in. I always like to take things from other media and see what house everybody would be in. You can see inside they list all the different editions. You can see how many more editions came out. They have like the Latin, Welsh, Ancient Greek, and Irish, some companion volumes. So we'll get to those too, though. These are all first printings of these, but these have some extra content in the beginning. First one is the most, but it has like Slytherin an introduction. Talks about Salazar Slytherin. Like each one, like because they knew that people would buy all 4 versions of each one of these, like real collectors. But I just wanted to choose one, and I chose the Slytherin. But it's nice that I'm getting some extra content, but I don't need all the extra content, especially since you can probably find a lot of this stuff online now too. I know there's like a 20th anniversary edition of the book too that has the old cover, but the new book inside. But you can see the page margins are all different inside too from both. I think it's a totally different, unique, different version. Now, what's interesting as well is that the hardcover ones have the text, like the cover. I like the paperback ones because one, the cover text is like the cover text is small, and the other one looks kind of ugly, I think. Whereas not ugly, but like sort of not as attractive. Whereas these ones, the paperbacks, they're like sort of striped. They would go like the odd number of books are colored with the black and gold, like black text or whatever, black thing or whatever. The even number of books are black with the green sort of emblem there, instead of the black with the green with the black emblem. It's black with green. Whereas in the hardback, it's reversed. So there ends up being more of these black ones than the color. And I like the colored ones better. So since the paperback has all the colored ones, and that's how I see it. And plus they're cheaper too. So if the better one is the cheaper option, you might as well do that. So then here's a Chamber of Secrets. See, that's what they all look like there. I'll sort of show you what because in the table of contents they talk about the Slytherin introduction, map of Hogwarts, School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and then House of Hogwarts, Alumni of Hogwarts, a quiz, and Slytherin House symbol and inspiration. Each of the ones I know that the hardcover ones also have like the Slytherin, the white stripes that are Slytherin on the side of the book too, whereas the paperbacks do not, but they still have a nice green edge on them, which is still really nice. Of course, my favorite, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Wear your house colors with pride. Let me know in the comments, what Hogwarts house are you in? Like, what Hogwarts house do you think best fits you? And if you took a quiz or anything, what house were you officially sorted in? Let me know, because I'd love to know that. So that's the introduction, map of Hogwarts School, and then the Patronus it talks about. House illustrations by Levi Pinfold. Then there's Goblet of Fire. Unfortunately, that one's a bit beat up there, unfortunately. That's how I got it. And this one, again, Slytherin introduction, map of Hogwarts School, and then this one we have Lord Voldemort, Slytherin, the magical paintings of Hogwarts, and the Triwizard Tournament, a quiz. And there in the 4th book, the text is, I think, even a little smaller. Maybe I'm seeing things, though. I'm just, again, the page numbers are all different. Like, it's all the margins, and I don't know why they don't just make them the same margins, same text size, and same page length, like same page thickness, so they can all be equal and actually reflect on the shelf how the difference between each book, because like as someone who's sort of, I don't think I have OCD, but I have OCD like things that come with my autism, and it just drives me nuts when that's the case, because like it doesn't correctly reflect how long each book is from each other. This is the set though that does it the best, though, I think. This one, the only different new thing here is that Dolores Umbridge, Slytherin. This one's the actual book here is exactly 800 pages, so you can tell it's even smaller there. So what are the things? I don't know how they made Goblet of Fire a 464-page book and Order of the Phoenix a 500-some page book on the in the illustrated editions. I have no idea how they did that, because those books are so long. Probably less illustrations and smaller text. But anyways, so those are the Hogwarts House editions. Just put those back for a second. Now we come to one of the nicest items in my collection. This is Harry Potter, the Illustrated Collection. It's the first 3 books illustrated. I don't have 4 and 5 yet. They're so darn expensive. Like $60 and then like $67 without tax, Canadian. I'm not buying those. Like, right, there's other things I want to buy more than those, but still. If I ever came into I wish they'd do a set that had 4 and 5 together, but yeah, I remember they didn't do when number 4 came out, they didn't do a set that had 1, 2, 3, and 4. But they did one that had 1, they reprinted the one with 1 that just had 1 and 2 from 4, and then they did one that had 3 and 4. But I think that was only in the Scholastic ones, because the illustrations in the Scholastic printings are the same, just they use the Harry Potter, the corporate font, not the font that the British ones use, because people forget that Warner Brothers actually owns the Harry Potter IP, but the publishing rights are owned by J.K. Rowling. So, but all the character rights and all the rights to the characters, elements, events, and everything are all owned by Warner Brothers. So, now this one at retail in Canada was $150. I think I paid like $100 for it. I think I had a gift card, so that's why I bought it. But I vaguely remember this was right before COVID. This was December 2019. I bought this. So they're not first printings at all. But I think when I bought this, I was in chapters. I think the same day I was there, a girl that I knew from my high school that was a year younger than me. So she was in grade 12 that year. I just graduated earlier that year, like in June. She was like a girl I had a crush on, that I always had a crush on when I was in school. I remember I tried to impress her with that. Remember that voice impressions act that I posted years ago, where I did all my voice impressions? It was one of my more popular videos, I think, from back in the day. I did that at the time to impress this girl. Not just to. I wanted to do it because I thought it was fun, but I was hoping she'd show up. She was in Florida that time. She left for Florida that day, so I never... Imagine, I think, like... I used to chat with her, but I was always so nervous to talk to her in real life, though. But she's... I talk to her occasionally now. We started a group. But I remember also her parents... there was an entrepreneurship at the high school in my last year, like 2018. And I recognized her parents from her social media posts, and I was thinking, like, the whole time I was talking to them about an entrepreneurship thing, like, when I was at the fair, I was thinking in my head, I have a crush on your daughter. So, but anyways, yeah, this girl and, more her little sister, actually, in fact, though she's not that much younger, still in the same age bracket as us, but yeah, they're Harry Potter fans, so I thought they would see me with a giant Harry Potter box and come over to see me, but they didn't, so I was too nervous to go and talk to them. Plus, I was in line waiting to pay for this book, so and it was Boxing Day sale, so it was a long lineup. So now let me just get these books out of the box. And also during that I have a crush on your daughter story I told, that was the same day that the power went off when we were in the gymnasium, and then we had to, because of the snowstorm, we had to all be sent home because you can't have school with no power. So here's the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. This is published in, like, these are all October, usually they do them. This is 2015. This is from 2015. Jim Kay no longer is going to do these, though. Like, number 6 is coming out next year, and then number 7 the next year after that. But Jim Kay is no longer doing them. It's a new illustrator now. Because Jim Kay, for his mental health, because apparently when doing other things, he moved houses and lost half of his artwork, and that really shook him up, I think. So, but I think also, I'm not sure if it's actually that, but I think it might also have something to do with maybe he feels... like he shouldn't be involved with the franchise because of J.K. Rowling's beliefs. That's another thing for another time, though. I'm not going to mention that, but still, but that's what I think was a bit part of it as well. But it's a shame though, because Jim Kay's artwork is beautiful. Like, these are amazing, wonderful looking books. This one's a 15th printing. I'll just show a couple examples of some. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because, like, to me, I don't think people buy these necessarily to read them. I know a lot of people do, but people buy these to have the pretty pictures and look. It's like they're like a coffee table book, because they're like they're like a picture book, but since it's not like a children's picture book, it's actually like there's a lot of text. Yeah, people buy these to have them as sort of status symbols. They're nice additions. And it must have been hard for Jim, because these are started to be made after the movies. So to have to do your own interpretation that's not inspired by the films must have been hard. Maybe Jim Kay never watched the films. Maybe that's a thing. It must be hard to do that. So, but yeah, there's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And there's Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets from 2016. Love the flying car. I remember this past Christmas I got a Lego set that you could build a flying car, and I built it, and it's sitting out in my dining room as a little display piece near the cupboard with some of our wine glasses. Dudley in front of the TV. Dudley sort of looks like what I think Cartman would look like in this art style. Like, he's very Cartman-esque. It's funny how in the books, Vernon's side of the Dursley family are dark-haired, and while Petunia's side is blonde. Whereas in the movies, it's completely reversed. You see a lot of cool images in this one. Ooh, the eyes looking at you. There's the greenhouse. Looks more like a cathedral or a church or something. And then here's my favorite. I think a lot of people's favorite, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This one, unfortunately, some of the gold is starting to come off it, unfortunately. But what can you do? So I try not to take these out and read them a whole lot. I only look at them like every little bit, whenever I feel like it, but not very much. And I never take these out to look at them. Plus, they're so heavy too, so it's hard to do that. It's Azkaban listed there. There's the Weasley family in Egypt. Funny how the monster book in there doesn't have like the teeth. It looks like it's just the its claws are just the buckles that hold the book together. And then, of course, Aunt Marge's big mistake. Ripper! Oh, Ripper! There's see, Aunt Marge is a brunette there, not a blonde like she was in the film. And here's another detail there for that one that's changed. The in the book, in Lisa's illustration, it looks like her feet plopped right out of her shoes, whereas in the film they didn't. So. And there she is, all blown up. Very terrifying and more... Again, because it's not really played... In the book, it's not really played for laughs, whereas in the movie, it's 100% played for laughs. That's what I like about Prisoner of Azkaban. It's a movie where, in all its seriousness, has a lot of these moments that are played for laughs, like the shrunken head, the fat lady's portrait, and different things like that. It's just a wonderful, wonderful book and movie. The story of Prisoner of Azkaban. The movie, especially, though, I love because it's the most cinematic, and Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is my second favorite movie of all time, and it's a film I could just talk about. Like, if you just asked me to start talking about why I love the movie Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, I could go on forever. Like, it's that much symbolism in it, and that much to talk. Like, it's the one that it stands out the most of within the series. It's easily the most cinematic, and I wish they had. But Alfonso Cuarón also led the foundation for what the rest of the franchise would look like, because instead of being in their robes outside everywhere, they're all just in their regular clothes, whereas the first two they're in their robes, whereas in the dark, sort of the color palette they used in the later films, that sort of greenish, bluish, like aquamarine-ish kind of tint was established in that one. Though I know in the scene with the Dursleys, inside, it has that sort of the yellowish light from the first two movies. But then, as Aunt Marge makes her way outside, it becomes more of that blue. The whole movie becomes more of that bluish greenish tint. So I wonder if that was sort of symbolic of the tone changing. But yeah, I used to have a Lego night bus as a kid. I think my aunt brought that home for me. Brought that for me when she came over one time. Years later, lost it. Years later, but still. I wish they'd bring back Lego Indiana Jones, or if I could find a set of those I could build now, because those are fun. I love those Lego Indiana Jones ones. I always wanted to do the minecart chase one, but it was so darn expensive. I had the Shanghai one where they had the cars. Those cars that I lost years ago. And I had the ambush in Cairo, I think, too. I used to have a lot of the Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings ones, too. Like, I had the scene Freeing Dobby, which was just a set that had, like, you just build Hogwarts around, and it was just Lucia. It was just, like, a little Hogwarts, like, hall set with, then it was Harry, Dobby, and Lucius for your minifigures, so... I have a lot of the minifigures from these sets in like a little thing that's like a Lego display case that looks like a giant Lego brick, so it's kind of cool. Again, that's not all. We also have a few miscellaneous editions in my collection. There's just various random ones I picked up of the original like UK and US editions. First off, we're going to talk about what they call the adult editions. I only have a few of these. I hope to find all these eventually, though, but... The adult editions, they started out just as paperbacks, and they looked like this. They only went up to number 4 for this kind of cover. Like, that looks like something out of World War II, honestly. But inside, this is actually a legit UK copy instead of a Canadian one like the other ones. 8th printing. Text inside is exactly the same, but it's just the cover, because a lot of people like to read these if they're out in public. I think a lot of people were worried people would mock them for reading a children's book. So this is a cover that appeals to older readers, that Bloomsbury realized there's a market for these. But most adults that I know, like everyone in my family, just prefer to have the original editions, because who cares? It's a great book. If it's a great book, then why should it matter what kind of thing? I think these more just as a cool oddity, really. And here's number 2. This is a Canadian copy. And this copy is a first printing for this edition. I know that the Canadian children's paperback of this one came out in late 2000. The Canadian, this adult paperback of the first one launched in Canada, I think, actually prior to the children's paperback. This was like December of 1998 this came out, if I'm not mistaken. Whereas for this one in Canada, I'm just looking at, I don't know when these came out in Britain, but in America, Canada, this copy came out in I think it was February 2001, whereas the children's paperback came out, I think it was like late 2000. But then with the third book, the adult edition, and the children's edition paperbacks would come out at the same time. So this is Prisoner of Azkaban, the adult edition. Second printing for this one. And this must be the first time they had these, the Ancient Force friendly paper, because I know that they were the first printings of these from 2001 were all just the regular, the thicker paper, whereas because they didn't start using the Ancient Force friendly paper until Order of the Phoenix came out, and they listed Order of the Phoenix as being available for sale in here, so there must have been like a 2-year gap between printings, so that's interesting. And there was a 4th one there too, but I don't have that one. But for the 5th book though, and they did a new adult edition the same day as the children's edition launched. That's what they call it, the children's edition. Or the original edition, they nicknamed the children's edition because of the adult edition. But it was a different kind of style. It's more like that Deathly Hallows there. And it launched day and date with the 5th book. So what they did in August 2004, or I think it was around August 2004 or something, or around 2004, they discontinued these and started putting out the first 4 in hardback, along with which looked like those covers, but also they had paperback versions, which were pocketbook size, because a lot of people like to read these on the bus and stuff, so they figured the pocketbook editions are perfect with the adult covers. Again, I only have 1 and 3 of these. And I know that they didn't release for these ones, again, they'd have these A-format ones way after the regular paperbacks, because I know that Order of the Phoenix, the original edition, the children's and adult were in June 2003, as I said. And then I think it was like August 2004, around the time these came out, for the children's paperback of Order of the Phoenix. But then this A-format paperback didn't come out until 2005. Same with Half-Blood Prince. July 2005 for both hardbacks. The children's paperback was in 2006. And then the A-format paperback was in 2007. Same with Deathly Hallows. The July 2007 for both hardbacks. And then I think it was 2009 for the paperback. Or 2008 or 9 or whatever. But then I know 2010 was when they were planned to have the A-format edition paperback out. And yeah, I think it was February 2010, I think. But by January 2010, Raincoast shut down, so that this set of Raincoast editions was included. I think they still published it via Bloomsbury, but they like in Canada, but you could never get these a complete Raincoast set of these, so they wouldn't match because the pages of the Bloomsbury ones were always thicker. But looking inside, these are both first printings for these editions. You have a picture of J.K. Rowling there. This edition published in 2004. The pages, actually, the margins are different again. The same text inside, but there's more pages because it's smaller pages, but the text amount is the same size, so. That's the other ones at the same time of the covers there, so. Half-Blood Prince looks similar. It just has the Half-Blood Prince's book on a table, and that's the cover there. That's what Order of the Phoenix looks like, so. But again, this A-format version of that wouldn't come out until 2005. So if I'm ever planning to complete the adult collection, I hope to get the number 4 of this, and then number 2 and 4 of this, and then 5 and 6 of the hardback ones. So that's how I plan to complete the adult collection, if I can find it anywhere. I'm not going to seek them out, but if I ever come across them, that's what I'll do. And here's Prisoner of Azkaban. And then here's the Deathly Hallows, just a random one I found somewhere. I forget where I found this, but yeah. This is also first printing, so they released this the same day as the children's one. Owned by T. Sato, whoever that is. Again, first printing there. Now let's take a look at my my other paperbacks here. The ones that I keep in the other room that I brought out just for this video. Here's one I bought randomly as a kid. I just had the first one for this. This is what they call the Signature Edition. The hardcover set of these was beautiful. But I just wanted one of these, I guess. It's just kind of cool. In fact, this is the copy when I finally finished the book as a kid. This is the copy I read it from. This is a 6th printing of this edition. Again, the same book inside, just a different cover. Kind of nice, cool cover there. Remember those were on the shelves. And then this one also was around the time. They used to have these in Britain. They called them the movie tie-in editions because they'd always come out around the time the movie came out. I know that in Canada they had these two. They only went up to the first two for Canada, though, but they were called the like in the Raincoast. These all came out through Bloomsbury after. But this is a Bloomsbury one. But they were called, in Canada, they were called the Magic editions. But the celebratory editions were the ones in, like, they look like the regular versions, but they are nice and shiny. Someone colored the crest in there. That's whoever bought it before me. And this is a much later pressing. This is a 35th printing. You can see this is by the time they, like, for a while they would have that Bloomsbury logo with, like, the raccoon head or whatever with the arrow through it as their logo for the children's books, whereas this is their regular logo. But then by the time they started using that logo just on everything by a certain point. This copy I bought in like this other copy I bought in like 2013. It still has that Bloomsbury thing on the bottom, whereas this one, there we go. Same book inside again. All the same book. Now here's my Canadian paperbacks, the 5 that we had ever since I was young. So here's the first one. This one was $11.95 at the time. I took this book to school to read. That's why my name is there in my class at the time. I was in grade 3, and my teacher's last name started with the letter K. Though both the grade 3 teachers actually started with the letter K. But I would have put 2-3K because the other one was a split class. So, but it still could have caused some confusion. And this is the Ancient Force friendly paper here. So 17th printing. And then Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This is not using the Ancient Force friendly paper yet, so it was obviously too big to be in the box set because it wouldn't fit. You'd see it's a lot. I was confused about that as a kid, so don't mind me if I'm starting to sound a little tired because it's late at night right now where I am. This is a 5th printing, so it's a much like they always had a habit of putting like earlier pressings of Chamber of Secrets in sets. Like for hardcovers, it was always the number was always a later pressing than the first one, whereas in hardbacks it was the opposite. Like I've seen copies of the 1-3 box set where like this copy is just new enough to say Raincoast and Bloomsbury, but I've seen most box sets of like 1-3. The one my mom received was a 1-4. The first and third are the copies that say Raincoast and Bloomsbury, whereas the second one is older, so it just says Raincoast. And here's the Prisoner of Azkaban paperback. Again, the second printing. Or not a second printing, but like it's the second version with the Ancient Force friendly paper instead of the original paper. This is a 4th printing of it. And here's Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Soft cover. I always call it paperback. I think soft cover because it's not really soft. Like you think of soft, you think of like this blanket. You don't think of a piece of paper as being soft. Especially you can give you paper cuts. It's softer compared to a hardcover, obviously. And this is the first printing of this one. Same book and everything. And then here's the Order of the Phoenix. Which really thin paper here. This almost feels like more like a Bible than a Harry Potter book. Like, if you didn't know how thick this paper was, if I told you this book was 766 pages, would you believe that just by looking at the length, like the size of the spine of the book? I wouldn't believe that either. So this one was $18.95 originally. Let me just check how much. It was $12.95. The first two were $11.95. Third was $12.95 for paperback. Fourth was $18.95. And this one's also $18.95. Remember I said the other one was the original Canadian pressing? This one is the revised Canadian edition, August 2003, but 2004. This edition published in 2004. So, but they reprinted the second printing of the paperback was I think was a revised pressing. So, but this is the first printing for the paperback. See how thin the paper is. Don't know how that wouldn't rip when you're reading it. Still very nice. I also have a few of the American paperbacks, too. So here's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Each one is a different adjective. I forget what I don't have 4 and 7 in this, but I forget what they say on the front. But this one says the extraordinary New York Times bestseller. But each of them has sort of a positive adjective. This one, I think, is a 38th printing. It says First Scholastic Trade Paperback printing. It should say First Scholastic Trade Paperback edition. When it says that on the bottom, just remember it's the edition. And it's a 38th printing, so. Yeah, I know that the British paperbacks are about the same size in terms of, like, or height or whatever as the hardbacks, whereas the American ones are different. Like, you see, that's the size of the American hardbacks are much taller. But it's still the same book inside, just the margins again are... No, the margins are different, but like the space... The margins, yeah. I was going to say the formatting. Number 2 is called the Phenomenal National Bestseller. Just go back to where it said... I think this was 1999, did it say? I just need to make sure. Yeah, September 1999 for that one. And then here's this book. Canadian paperbacks are published around the same time as the American ones, so... Just by, of course, a different publisher. This is a first printing for this one, and it's a First Scholastic Trade Paperback Edition, September 2000. And then here's number 3. This one is the Remarkable National Bestseller. Second printing, and it's the First Scholastic Trade Paperback Edition, September 2001. I would assume September 2002 is when the Goblet of Fire one came out. And then here is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, the Spellbinding National Bestseller. This is the one I bought recently on my trip to Newfoundland. Found it at Valley Village there. First printing, this is First Scholastic Trade Paperback Edition, September 2004. This one actually has the right thickness, so it's actually nice. And then here's number 6, the Half-Blood Prince, which you realize how it's not that much thicker than Prisoner of Azkaban. It is thicker, but it's not that much. So this one is the Enthralling National Bestseller. First printing, and this is the First Scholastic Trade Paperback Edition, September 2006. Now, what's interesting about the about this one is that it has a that 11 Outstanding Owls error I mentioned. It's corrected here, so I find that very interesting. And that's still not it, because in addition to those books, the Harry Potter books, we also have a few supplemental books. We'll start with the ones that are sort of the stage plays. Like the scripts or whatever. Here's the stage play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Special Rehearsal Edition script. Fun fact, for anyone who watches my Really Loud House videos, any of my Really Loud House things, you might know that Catherine Bradley, who plays Luann, she was Lily Potter in, I think for a long time, the Broadway version of this play. Or not Lily Potter, Harry's mother, but his daughter. And then there's the... I know that the one, apparently the version that's not the rehearsal edition script actually has different text. Like they prolong the text a bit. It's a bit longer, but it's I don't care. I don't even know if I don't even think I finished this one actually. It's kind of like, did they nearly need an 8th Harry Potter? Again, I feel like a lot of these things that they do multiple of these. This one actually Scholastic did publish them in Canada, whereas the UK one was published by in the UK it was published by Little Brown. But still, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It's a very divisive play, for sure. And then I have the first 2 Fantastic Beasts screenplays. Again, very divisive things. I think J.K. Rowling is a better book writer than she is a script writer, to be honest. That's just me, though. This is the first one here. Those are all first printings, I'm pretty sure, too. I forget. I think let me just check that Cursed Child one again. Yeah, I checked inside. It was a first printing. My Order of the Phoenix Hogwarts edition just fell. Let me just put that back. There we go. And I assume these other ones I got them around the time they came out. I assume they're first printings as well. First printing, yeah. These are the original screenplays. So they're not exactly just like the film, but they're the original screenplays of the. It's just that they could sell the movie's new story as a book in people's collections, so it could feel more complete. And here's Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. I have not gotten the Secrets of Dumbledore. I haven't even seen that movie. Actually, I saw this movie. I didn't like it enough to buy it though. And I don't really retroactively. I'm not really into the first one anymore that much. Like, that's the one thing David Zaslav's right about. It's not Wizarding World that's the iconic brand. It's Harry Potter. So, he thinks anything that's not Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, or DC is poison to WB's money-making schemes. So, thank God they saved Coyote versus Acme. I'll be supporting the hell out of that movie. But anyways, then here's the supplemental books that they did in aid of some charities. The first two of these were in aid of Comic Relief. They had these around 2001. They released these. We have Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander. I like how they have, like, as if they're from the library. But they're cool little supplemental books about the different things inside the... It's as if they're from a Hogwarts... Like the literal Hogwarts library. And then... Quidditch to the Ages by Kettlewithy Wisp, as Stewie Griffin would say. If he knew about this book. But anyways, yeah. Then we have the two different editions of Tales of Beedle the Bard. Here's the US edition. Or, sorry, UK edition. This was an aid of Children's High Level Group, which, nowadays, I think nowadays Lumos is the charity this one goes to, but back in the day it was in aid of Comic Relief. Or, sorry, Children's High Level Group, which is a charity founded by J.K. Rowling, actually. I think this one's the first printing, I'm pretty sure. And this is not a Canadian copy, this is actually a British thing. I think they should make a Tales of Beedle the Bard movie as an anthology with like 4 different directors. I think that would be a cool idea. And here's the American version, which I like this cover better, because I like the American ones. The cover's a little bit better for some reason. I don't know why. Introduction, talks about everything, yeah. Pretty cool. And then I'm not going to show them because they're all the way downstairs. And I'm staying up here right now, but I want to show that I also have a couple audiobook versions. I have the second one on cassette and the fourth on CD. I went to a store, they had numbers 4, I think it was 4, 5, and 7, or 4, 6, and 7, or something like that. All on CD, they were like $30 a piece, so I wasn't going to spend $90 on that, so I just bought one. It was the Goblet of Fire on CD. And I found the unfortunately the tape popped in one of those tapes, so I managed to reel it back in, but I don't think it's going to work anymore, so. Yeah. Probably best to just, if I ever want to listen to the audiobooks again, just get them on Hoopla or something. Because I have a library card and it's free, so yeah. So that's my Harry Potter book collection. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is Pixman 1001 signing out. Peace.